This frozen continent, the coldest place on Earth, was once alive. Not with silence, not with endless white, but with rivers, with forests, with movement. Right here, where kilometers of ice now crush the land beneath, there was once warmth. If you stood in this valley 90 million years ago, you would not see glaciers. You would hear insects. You would feel humid air on your skin, and you would stand inside a rainforest. Antarctica was not always locked in ice. During the late Cretaceous period, the Earth itself was different. The continents were arranged differently. Ocean currents moved differently. The atmosphere held far more carbon dioxide than today. Global temperatures were dramatically warmer. There were no permanent polar ice caps. Even at the South Pole, forests could survive. This valley, the same mountains you see today, were once covered in dense vegetation. Tall conifer-like trees stretched toward a bright sky. Thick ferns carpeted the forest floor. Moss grew along riverbanks, and rivers flowed freely, warm, clear, alive. Dinosaurs walked here, not the giant predators most people imagine, but smaller, feathered herbivores. Early birds moved through the canopy. Insects thrived in humid air. This was not a frozen wasteland, it was an ecosystem, and it lasted for millions of years. The Earth remained warm, stable, lush. But the planet never stays still. Deep beneath the surface, tectonic plates were shifting. Antarctica was drifting farther south, slowly, a few centimeters per year. Over millions of years, that drift changed everything. As Antarctica moved closer to the South Pole, its position altered ocean circulation. Eventually, a critical moment arrived. Antarctica became isolated. A powerful ocean current formed around it, the Antarctic Circumcontinent Current. This current acted like a thermal barrier. Warm waters could no longer reach the continent, and without that warmth, cooling began. Not instantly, not dramatically. At first, it was subtle. Seasons became more extreme. Winters grew longer. Summers grew shorter. The rainforest began to feel stress. Storms intensified. Rain patterns shifted. Some species adapted. Others disappeared. The rivers that once ran strong began to fluctuate. Water levels dropped seasonally. Soil began to dry. The lush canopy thinned. What had been dense jungle slowly became temperate forest. Leaves fell earlier. Frost lingered longer. Snow began appearing more frequently during winter. At first it melted, but each year it melted more slowly. The cooling accelerated. As atmospheric carbon dioxide levels dropped over geological time, global temperatures continued to decline, and Antarctica crossed a tipping point. Ice began forming permanently. Not just seasonal frost, but ice sheets. At high elevations first, on mountain peaks, then expanding downward into valleys. This valley, once filled with warm river water, began to freeze along its edges. Ice expanded from both sides. The forest retreated. Trees cracked under freezing stress. Roots froze into hardened soil. And then the rivers stopped flowing. Ice sealed the surface. Snow accumulated, layer upon layer, year after year, century after century. The valley disappeared beneath growing ice. The forest floor was sealed in darkness. Glaciers formed, immense, slow-moving rivers of ice. They flowed through the same valley where water once ran, following the same curve, obeying the same gravity, only now frozen. Over millions of years, the ice thickened, hundreds of meters, then thousands. Today, in some regions, Antarctic ice exceeds 4 kilometers in thickness.
4 kilometers above what was once soil, above roots, above life. And yet, the past did not vanish, it was preserved. Ice is not only destructive, it is protective. As glaciers expanded, they sealed the ancient ground beneath them, cut off from oxygen, protected from erosion, locked in time. Modern scientists suspected this possibility, but proof was needed. So they drilled. Through layer after layer of compressed snow and ice, each layer representing a year, then a century, then millennia, descending deeper into history. And eventually, the drill reached something unexpected: dark sediment, ancient soil. Not rock, not ice, but soil. Within that soil, microscopic pollen grains, fragments of plant material, chemical signatures consistent with temperate rainforest ecosystems, evidence that trees once grew here. Real trees in Antarctica. This was no theory, this was physical proof. A rainforest had existed near the South Pole in a world that feels permanent and frozen today. It is difficult to imagine Antarctica as green, but Earth has always been dynamic. Climate shifts are written into the planet's history. The Antarctic transformation was not sudden. It unfolded over tens of millions of years, driven by tectonic movement, ocean circulation changes, atmospheric chemistry, and time. Enormous stretches of time. What feels eternal to us is only temporary in geological terms. The ice seems endless, but so once did the forest. The mountains you see today witnessed both worlds. They stood when rivers flowed warm. They stand now under polar wind. They will likely stand through future changes as well, because change is the only constant on Earth. Antarctica teaches us something profound, that environments we consider permanent can transform completely, that continents drift, that climates evolve, that ecosystems rise and fall. Under the ice, this valley still exists, its shape unchanged, its river path preserved in stone and sediment. If you could remove the glacier in an instant, you would see the same curve of land that once carried flowing water, the same ground where trees once rooted themselves. The ice did not erase history, it buried it. And sometimes buried history is the most powerful kind, because it waits to be discovered, waits to remind us that the world we know is only one version of Earth. Antarctica is not just a frozen continent, it is a memory, a record of transformation, from warmth to cold, from life to silence, from jungle to glacier. And perhaps one day, far beyond our lifetime, it may change again, because the Earth is still moving, still breathing, still evolving. And beneath this endless white horizon, there is a buried rainforest.